It is such an honor to be with you today. My name is Kim, and I want to take a moment and just share a little bit with you about my childhood. You see, I was raised as a pastor's kid, and you could say that life kind of felt like this, like a fish in a fishbowl. Like life just revolved around everyone kind of looking in, and good-hearted people giving their opinions, even when they weren't asked, advice being given, sometimes good and sometimes not so good. There were some people that just felt like they kind of got to be able to say whatever they wanted, even though I remember times where my heart was hurt, or that I felt lonely, or I felt like I couldn't just go through a normal thing like a normal kid because everybody was watching. And I think in that moment, Jesus knew what life was like in a fishbowl. And I think that's why he directed his prayer on how we all need to be together, how we all need to come together as one. Which is why Jesus continues his prayer in John chapter 17, verse 20. And he says, "My prayer is not for them alone." He continues his communication with his Father by saying, "I'm not just praying for just my 12 closest friends, my disciples, my followers. I'm also going to be praying for others." And he continues and says, "I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message." Now, stop and think about that for a moment, because right there, no matter where you are in your spiritual journey, Jesus was praying for you and for me. Jesus was praying for generation after generation and after generation of people after his disciples. And he knew that through the message, he had complete confidence that the message that his disciples, that he had invested so much time in, would continue through generation and generation. And then he continues and says that all of them may be one. May be one as in united, coming together as one. And he continues by just making sure that we understand that he knows this is going to be hard. Jesus knows that unity is going to be so difficult. He's seen it. He's seen it among his followers. He's seen it among the religious elite. But he says unity needs to be a focal point for all of us. And he continues that all of them may be one. Father, just as you are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. You can't get any clearer example of unity other than Jesus and God, the Father and the Son. The unity that's there is so important, and Jesus is saying, I want them to experience that. And church, here is where we go wrong. Sometimes we think that everybody should be here together. But if you look, it says, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. The world, those who do not know what they do not know yet. I love this verse that's found in 1 Corinthians. It says, the person without the Spirit does not accept the things that come from the Spirit of God, but considers them foolishness and cannot understand them because they are discerned only through the Spirit. If you don't know what you don't know, you can't expect them to understand it. And sometimes we keep thinking that this unity that Jesus is talking about needs to be the same beliefs that everybody feels, and that's not what Jesus is saying. He's saying, hey, they're going to get there, but for now I need not only my disciples like I've been praying for, but I also need all of you who already believe. And then he continues in John 17:22, I have given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be one as we are one. And then he continues, I in them and you in me, so that they may be brought to complete unity. and I in them. Jesus is saying, when you name me, Jesus, as your personal Lord, Savior, forgiver, friend, I become part of you. I'm no longer just around you. I am part of you. And that unity simply means that we go from looking at our inward selves, our own vaulted opinions, and that unity simply means we shrink into one. Our unity says, I look at you and I see Jesus as part of you. I see the awesomeness of Jesus. And my high opinions of myself no longer matter because I see the love that Jesus has given you. And guess what, church? It's mission critical. It's mission critical that we all start looking at each other in that unity. And then John continues with this in 23. Then the world will know that you have sent me and have loved them even as you have loved me. Jesus is saying the world's gonna get it. If the church, those who believe in me, a body of believers, if you guys stand united, then guess what? The world's going to see it and they're going to want to be a part of it. So church, be unified. Get it together because when you do, the world will want to do it as well. And he continues, Father, I want those who have given me to be with me where I am and to see my glory, the glory you have given me because you loved me before the creation of the world. Here's what I know. Jesus didn't come just to be a part of history. He didn't want to be stories that we tell. He didn't want to be something that becomes a joke. He didn't come to just be part of history. He came to change the world. Jesus also didn't come just so you and I could look and say we've got something to take up our weekend. It's a weekend time filler, something we can check off the box. We went to church, check. Check the kids in, check. Got online and chatted, check. That's not why Jesus came. And Jesus, he didn't come so that we could have a nice addition to our obituary. But I will tell you why Jesus did come. Jesus came so that we could have a relationship that never ends. An eternal relationship that once you name Jesus as your leader, forgiver, and friend, there is nothing that can separate his love from you. We also know this, that Jesus came for us to have an eternity together in heaven with him. At that point, Jesus knows perfection happens. It will never happen here on earth. And some of us keep looking for that perfect moment, that perfect person, that perfect moment in time. And Jesus is saying, no. There will never be a perfect government. There will never be a perfect school. There will never be a perfect job. There will never be a perfect church. Not until you get to spend eternity with me. Next weekend, across all of our campuses, we have the ability to be able to host baptisms. And man, there's a lot of weekends and celebrations that I love, but I will tell you that I absolutely love watching people make that decision to become brand new, to make Jesus their leader, forgiver, and friend, to make him the subject of their life. I want to challenge you, if you haven't made that decision, follow up with that. Take that next step. Have that perfect eternity. Well, I remember being in college and I got a call from my mom and she said, hey, I want you to know that I've given you kids like 4 weeks. 4 weeks to go through all of your stuff that you've accumulated over the years. And we've kept what we know we want to keep as keepsakes, but I need you to go through one last time and make sure that you've gotten everything you want. Out of boxes, out of, random drawers. Make sure that you've gotten everything you want. And of course, I being ADD, creative, all those things, insisted that I was good. I went through them all at least once. I guarantee you. The last time I was home, Mom, I'm good. Kimmy, are you sure? Absolutely, Mom. I am so sure. There's nothing else I need. Fast forward a few weeks later, I'm coming home from college for the weekend. I'm driving through our town, and I stop at a light. And I look to the right. And to the right of me is a store that was called the Resale Mart. And it's where my mom would take things when we grew out of them or no longer needed them. She would take them there. And I remember looking over, and it was like time froze. Because in that window stood the Kimberly doll. This Kimberly doll that I've had since like 1983. Some of you weren't even born yet, but 1983, this doll that looked like me, was fun like me, and I wanted to be able to one day show my kids and say, look how awesome this doll is. It was in the Resale Mart window. I immediately go home. I'm flooring it. I'm sure I sped. I walk in the door, and I'm amped, and I'm like, Mom, come here. What's going on? Why would you get rid of my Kimberly doll? I remember my mom looking at me saying, Kimmy, for weeks, I asked you. For weeks, you said you were good. I am so sorry. I remember being crushed. I remember going to my room. You would think that $1 million had just been given away. Moments later, my dad knocks on my door. There's a bag. He had heard my communication with my mom. He handed me the bag. And in that bag was my Kimberly doll. You see, my dad, he got in his car. He drove to the Resale Mart. And he grabbed that doll, and he brought her home for me. And that doll now sits in a crate in the middle of my closet labeled Kimmy's Keepsakes. Why? Because it was important to me. And at that moment, my dad was like the most magnificent dad in the world. Best dad ever. Why? Because he heard my communication, and he acted on it. And I think that's what Jesus is doing right here in this verse, where he says, righteous Father, though the world does not know you, I know you, and they know that you have sent me. And then he goes, I have made you known to them, and I will continue to make them known to you, in order that the love you have for me may be in them, and that myself may be in them. God, I know they know you. God, I've spent my life here on earth making sure they know you, and I've made sure that the people that need to tell it from generation to generation to generation, that they also will do it. Oh, God, you are so magnificent. And here's what we know about Jesus. Jesus was fulfilling his promise because he came. He lived. He loved. And he gave the ultimate sacrifice for us. So here's a challenge to you. Because we love a God that we can't see, let's make the commitment to love all people we can see. Because when God says all people, church, do you know who he's talking about? He's talking about the people that have hurt you, the people that have cheated you, the people that have lied to you, the people that don't even like you. I love to be liked. And it hurts when someone says, oh, they don't even like you. And you're like, oh, but I love them. Why? Because God tells us, Jesus tells us, love them. Just as Jesus loved them. Even if they don't know me yet, God, I love them. I challenge you to that. And then how are we going to make this unity work? We're going to make this unity work because church, we're going to start being the church. We say that around TCC a lot. Be the church. Let's not just say it. Let's do it. And let's do it by simply saying, The enemy divides, and Jesus, he unites. This is what we know. The enemy celebrates when division happens. The enemy celebrates when hatred happens. The enemy wins when we are divided. But Jesus is saying, no, don't let him win. Don't let him win. You have hope, and that hope allows you to say, hey, you know what? The enemy's not going to win because we are going to be united. And do you know what happens when we discover the beauty that is found in the we of being one? There's something amazing about that. I want to go back to this moment of the fishbowl. Because being a pastor's kid is truly one of the greatest blessings of my life. I used to tease my husband that I never wanted to marry a pastor. I didn't know he was going to be a pastor. And now I'm so glad that I get to raise my kids as pastors' kids because you know what? I've been able to see that even life through a fishbowl, that reconciliation can happen, that hurts can be healed, that hearts don't have to hurt, and that sometimes we can just agree to disagree, but we can still be unified. And I've watched people from years ago circle back and say sorry. And I've said sorry. And that's part of being unified. Here's what else I know. Soak this up for a minute. If you are spending more time trying to prove your point and share your opinion with people rather than sharing about Jesus, then you have your priorities messed up. And y'all, we're all guilty of this. All of us. No matter what our opinion is, sometimes we think it should trump everything else. And Jesus is saying, hey, the only thing I want you to do is to make sure people know the message of Jesus. And how do we do that? I think we do that by this. Let's stop arguing about what we disagree on, and let's start agreeing with each other on the mission that Jesus gave his life for. Another way we can do that is not only by being the church, but we can also connect the unconnected. There's a pastor that leads out a ministry in the Middle East. He has a video that's called Sheep Among Wolves, and he recently did an interview, and I love this challenge that he gave. He talked about how a lot of times here in America, we don't do this. We just kind of sit back and we wait for people to come to us. But he said, no. Here in the Middle East, you know what we do? We go and we find. So church, what happens if we go and we find? What if we stop waiting? And we go and we find those people that we know the world needs to hear about Jesus' love, the hope that Jesus brings. And then what about after we go and find? What if we come and see? We ask them, hey, come and see. Easter's right around the corner, and what an amazing opportunity for you to say, hey, I got to tell you something. I know that we've lived in a challenging season. We've lived in a season where it's been tossed down our throats to be unified. And some people want to be unified and some people don't. And it's opinions and it's personal views. It's all those things. But I want you to come see. I want you to come see something that I know is the right kind of unity to have. And it's a unity that says, I know a hope. I know grace. I know a love that goes far beyond anything you can ever imagine. And I want you to come with me so you can hear all about it. Grab those invites. Invite someone to attend Easter with you. One of my favorite worship leaders says this in a worship album. He says, you don't have to believe to belong. Whether you are watching online or whether you are at one of our campuses, I hope and pray that you feel like you belong, no matter where you are in your spiritual journey, that you feel like TCC values you and loves you and wants you to be a part. Because you know what? We believe that you belong, just like Jesus believes that you belong. You don't have to believe to belong. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a commitment as a church. This is what I want to challenge us with today. That we commit to being people that will change the world. And we're going to change the world by praying. We're going to pray for the people that are in our circle. We're going to pray for the people that are in our community. And we're going to pray for those people that are in the church. And you know what? You're going to pray for that person that you know doesn't like you in the church. And you're going to pray for that person that you know doesn't like you in your community. And you're going to pray for that person that you know is part of your circle but really has said some awful things about you or maybe hurt you in the past. We're going to pray for them, and we're going to see what happens when we become the church that prays for unity. I have absolutely loved being able to be a part of House to Home, which is a branch off of our Square One ministries. And through Tri-County, we're able to partner with Square One, which is a thriving community outreach that just helps people go from surviving to thriving. And I absolutely love the heartbeat and mission behind that. But what I love most is we've created these House to Homes and multiple locations, and our goal is to be everywhere where we have a campus. So be praying for that, because that's exciting. And what I want to share with you today is there was this moment that I was at one of our House to Homes, and a guy named Thomas called. Thomas called and he needed some furniture, and we weren't open yet, but my friend Angel and I were there, and we were getting some stuff together, and Angel said, no, let's go ahead and he can come on in. Let's do this. So with great anticipation, we open the doors and Thomas comes in. And at that moment, Thomas was able to get a couch, a table. And in the conversation, Thomas says, wow, my family will get to sit together for the first time ever at the same table and eat a meal together. And when we go to watch TV, we can all sit together and watch TV together. And our hearts, whoa, they just burst with excitement at watching what happens when the church becomes unified, when we say we're all in this together. And then in that conversation, Thomas says, well, this couch will be comfortable to sleep on. It'll be so much better than my air mattress. And at that moment, we gave him a mattress, a brand new mattress, as we partner with Miller Homes. And it was the coolest moment ever to watch Thomas light up. And at that moment I went, and that's what Jesus is talking about. We can change the world. In church, it is mission critical. We have no idea how much time we have left. So let's make it our mission to reach people and watch God change lives. Let's make it our mission to love people by serving them to Jesus. Jesus knew what was going to happen. As he was praying this prayer, he knew what was going to take place. He knew he was getting ready to face the worst agony and pain he's ever experienced. But yet moments before he was washing the disciples' feet, he was eating with them knowing they were going to betray him and even deny him. And yet he still loved them and he still them. Church, let's love people by serving them to Jesus. And let's also know that hope has a name. We know the awesomeness of this hope. Don't keep it in. Share it. Give it to other people. And together, church, let's commit to making one purpose: to lead people to Jesus. Let's make a commitment to have a message of love to all people, whether they've hurt you, lied to you, cheated to you, whatever it may be, that we make a commitment to give a message of love. And then let's also make that commitment for unity. Church, together, we can be one. Together, we have the ability to change the world. So let's do it. Let's make that our focal point. Will you pray with me, please? Dear Jesus, oh, mighty God, we just ask that you just create in us a unity. God, that we would put aside all of our own opinions, God, that we would just be able to look at you and say, God, you are the answer, your hope, your grace, your love, your second chances. God, please help us to see others the way you see them. Help us continue to live out the mission. Help us to make this our number one goal, God. We love you, we praise you, and we celebrate you daily. We thank you so much for the gift of your Son. Thank you for the hope that you have given all of us. May we never take it for granted. We love you and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.